All right. Well, I think we're waiting for people to click on here. Waiting for people to click on. Okay. All right, we're good. I think we've got a few people on. All right, welcome everybody. What's up, Kim? How are you?
Hey Brett, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So my name
Good.
is Brett Hawke. I am one of the directors of clinics and camps at Fitter and Faster. I'm sure a lot of you have been on these live webinars the past 6 weeks. We've been doing many of these, and so today's another one where we're going to dig into a very specific topic on relaxation, and we have Olympic medalist Kim Vandenberg with us. So I appreciate you being here, Kim.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so where are you again? Where are you situated right now?
Right now, I'm in Northern California, in Lafayette, and we're in quarantine and just trying to stay positive and work on what we can work on.
Are there any talks of quarantine shifting anytime soon up there?
I really haven't heard any updates. I mean, I feel like it keeps getting pushed back, so we're just kind of playing it day by day and waiting around. And what about you? Where are you right now?
I'm in Auburn, Alabama, and it's pretty much the same. Nothing's really changed. Grocery stores are open, but restaurants are just kind of pick up only, and people are staying off the roads and really staying away from each other. So it's been
Yeah,
good and hopefully
yeah,
effective. So
yeah.
we're kind of just like everybody right now. I have family back in Australia. You've got friends all over the world, and
Yeah.
everybody's going through the same thing. So we're all in this together for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to be able to connect this way as well, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of see each other live
Yeah,
and talk live as well, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
And it's a great time to explore different ideas and reflect on a
hmm
lot of different topics. So it's actually there's a benefit, to being in quarantine as we have time to create opportunities like this.
yeah. Well, it's an interesting topic today. It's relaxation. It's a stressful time, even though we're quarantined and we're not really doing as much as we used to. Maybe we're all definitely feeling different levels of stress. Um, what are some of the things that you're feeling that are probably common to what most people are feeling right now?
Well, I definitely I miss swimming. I miss being
Mm,
around my friends, but the activity portion, being in the water and I've always kind of felt like swimming in a lot of ways is a meditation. So having that time to clear my head every day when I would swim, and now I don't have that. So I feel like I'm trying to find new ways to explore movement. I think it's really important when you're stressed, when there's high anxiety situations like this, to move and find things that work for you and to create a routine. So I've been trying to navigate what that looks like. Obviously, it's not in the water, but it's on the mat, it's on the yoga mat, it's on dry land. So
yeah,
that's what's been helping me.
yeah. And like I said, like something specific where you feel like you need that. Like, is there any specific time of the day where it's harder for you, or are you feeling certain things, throughout the day? Like, what are the things you're feeling?
I feel like some days are better than others. It's kind of like a wave. Like some days we'll be really optimistic, like we're going to get
Mm,
through this, and trying to create the gratitude list and talk about the things that I'm grateful for and
mm,
appreciate, because that helps shift the perspective a little bit. But, some days are really hard. I just want to go to a pool. I want to swim. I want to see my friends. I want to do
mm,
the things that we, used to take for granted. And I think that most of my friends and most of the people I'm talking to experience that same thing. Some days are better than others. And it's a really hard time for anyone, for everyone. So I think that, talking about it with each other and sharing our experiences helps, just feel less alone, if people are feeling alone. What about
yeah.
you? How do you feel about it all?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you asking. Thank you. It's similar. I think that as swimmers and as coaches a lot, we train the physiology, meaning we train the body, like we train the heart and we train the muscles. We don't spend as much time thinking about the psychology or even the emotional side of swimming, and when you get to a big meet and, the meet, let's say, goes over 2 or 3 days, it's definitely an emotional roller coaster. You can have a great swim or a bad swim, and you have to be able to move on, and you have to find ways to get past those things. You could have a bad meet and you might be hanging on to that. So it doesn't necessarily matter how much you train the body. We have to train the mind. So there are times during this quarantine where I've felt challenged mentally, for sure. I wake up and I'm like, I just feel low today. Like that you're out of your normal routine, so you've got to find a new routine.
Yeah.
And that can be mentally challenging and exhausting sometimes. And there are times where you feel like you haven't been very productive during the day as well, where you're like, wow, I'm wasting my time, because we're so used to physically doing things.
Moving, right.
Yeah. So I actually find myself, doing some cleaning just to get that physical activity and things like that. So I think trying to stay in some sort of routine where it feels normal makes me feel better generally.
Well, I also think it's important to talk about that, what you said about being exhausted. Like, it's these emotions, ups and downs, are physically exhausting. Even if you're not doing a 8,000 yard workout, just thinking in your head about the quarantine, about COVID, about everything, it's stressful.
Yeah.
And that takes a toll physically on your body, the mind and the body together. And I think it really correlates to how some people may feel heading into a really big competition. If they're really nervous, if they're going up and down with their emotions, that is exhausting. So how do you manage it? And I think that's what today's topic is how do we find those methods that help us stay connected to ourselves and grounded in ourselves at a big meet or in quarantine.
Yeah. Well, it kind of feels like an extended taper. Swimmers taper, and not many other sports understand taper like swimmers do.
Yeah.
Generally you go through a really hard period of training, and then the last few weeks before a big meet, you start to kind of taper that off, and you have to sit around a little bit more and recover a little bit more. So it kind of feels like quarantine is just an extended taper right now, and we're all just dealing with that. So what are some of the emotions that you would feel in a taper when you were growing up and you started to really taper? What are some of the things that started to go through your head during taper?
Well, I think it's also interesting to explore what taper means for certain people. I mean, taper for me was different than taper for a sprint freestyler or for a distance swimmer. So trying to find what that taper looked like. I swim the 200, but I also was swimming the 100. So it's like 100, 200. Do I taper, for the 100, or do I taper for the 200? For me, I found that 7 to 10 days was my optimal taper time, but that took years and years and years of exploring different ways.
Yeah.
And during the taper, as you know, the taper funk. The taper funk is real. Like when you go through a couple of days feeling super heavy in the water and just not. I remember not getting, we were doing pace 50s for the 200 fly, and I was like way off. I was just like seconds off my taper, or seconds off my goal time for the pace, for the splits. And it was very emotional, because I had the swim meet. It was like before World Championships, a week before we were leaving. And so I was just feeling like, am I ready? I don't know if I'm ready. If I'm going 3 seconds slower on a 50, that's like 9 seconds, 10 seconds slower overall. So I was kind of building up this story of basically fear. Does this mean I'm not going to swim well? But it's just trusting that process and trusting that your body needs time to rest so you could perform. And so that took a lot of mental toll on me. And turns out I tapered, and then I, trusted the process, talked to my coach about it. We went to Worlds and I swam my best time, and I got a silver medal. And so just having that realization that there is an up and down during taper, and a lot of swimmers don't really, realize that, especially younger swimmers, that that's a normal thing to feel. If you're not feeling 100%, you can't feel 100% every single day.
Yeah. So obviously relaxation techniques can play a part during taper or during quarantine, and how we can relate those things. So What are some of the relaxation techniques that you've learned over your career that have really helped you?
Yeah, the first thing is breath work. And so when people are nervous and people are stressed, the breath changes. And so just tuning in to your own breath. And it sounds so simple, but it's a really hard thing. We hardly ever think about breathing because we're just doing it right now and not even thinking about it. But there's techniques, breathing in and imagining there's like this ball, and you breathe in and then you breathe out, and you kind of start slowing down your nervous system. And there's like box breathing, where you breathe in for 4 counts and exhale for 4 counts and breathe in for 4. So there's a lot of numbers. And then belly breathing, chest breathing, laying on your mat. So I think just connecting to the breath really helps me. And I would do that away from the pool. If I was heading into a big meet, I'd be at home and I have a yoga mat, and I put my legs up on the wall, and I'd first start checking in with my breath. And then you do something that I call a body scan. So a body scan is kind of like how is my head feeling on the mat? How is my shoulders? Where's there tension? A lot of tension is built in the shoulders. If people are nervous, this is the position they're in. You see people before a race, and you could see the people who are relaxed, and you could see the people who are freaking out.
Yeah.
So I think tuning in with the body, where am I holding tension? And then that was a start. And then I would start to visualize my performance.
Okay. And so did you learn those techniques through taking yoga classes, or how did you first learn those?
We first started working with visualization when I was a teenager. I coached Don and Ron Hadry in Orindo Aquatics. We would sometimes have the group, I remember, and it was usually before practice, we would do some dry land, where our coach would lead us through visualization. We'd get comfortable. We'd be laying down in our towels and our parkas, and he would guide us through how to visualize. Imagine yourself at the pool, before you're competing or you're walking around the pool. If you know the competition pool, the better, because the more clear it is in your mind, the stronger it will help you, or the more it will help you. So then you imagine yourself at the pool, you imagine yourself going to the blocks. How are you feeling? What kind of stretches are you doing? You imagine every single step of the race. And so I did that a lot throughout my career, where I would imagine being on the blocks, how many kicks I would do, how my breakout would feel, how the turns would feel. And then especially later on in my career, when I realized that third 50 long course of the 200 fly was the most mentally challenging part, because you're starting to break down. So it was like, okay, am I going to give into this breakdown, or how am I going to overcome this? So during visualization practices, I would spend more time heading into that third wall. How am I feeling? How do I want to feel heading into the third wall before I finish that last lap? And so that helped a lot, because when I got to the pool and I was ready to race, I had mentally prepared myself for the hardest part of the race. So I knew it was coming. And I also knew that I could handle it, because I was training, and I was training physically, I was training mentally, I was talking to my sports psychologist about it, to my coaches about it. So I think that the support that I had from my coaches, from my sports psychologist, was really helpful.
Yeah. Now, you said something interesting. You said before practice. Why do you think the coaches did some of those techniques before practice?
I think it was an exploration of how we're feeling heading into a big competition. I believe we did it usually heading closer to big meets.
Yeah.
Just to get in the mindset, just to feel how we would feel at the meet. We were at practice, so it's a different environment. But just kind of preparing and talking about those emotions was really helpful when I was younger. That was 20 years ago, and it helped me throughout the years. And I kept building on those techniques with classes there's breathwork classes where you just go for 45 minutes and talk about breath. And that's helped me. Meditation classes have helped me. So it's not just the visualization, it's the breathwork, the meditation, figuring out different methods to explore how to relax when you're feeling really, really nervous.
Why do you think it's more powerful to connect with that energy and those feelings when you have your eyes closed?
Well, when you're closing your eyes, you're turning off that sense, and so you're able to go internal. you know, and I think it's better to do in a darker room, you know, with your legs up on the wall, to just have your body as relaxed as possible, or just laying, you know, on the floor. Right. But when you do close your eyes, you're able to just kind of disconnect to the stimulus around. You're not looking around you. You know, if there's pictures or whatever, there's no distractions. And so I think closing your eyes helps in that way. And you could put like an eye mask on, or you could put just something over your eyes to help kind of connect.
Yeah. One of the things that I struggled with at big meets was falling to sleep, you know, because you're especially the night before, you know, my brain was always ticking over. So I think something like this would be super effective for kind of turning your brain off, right? You know, the night before the meet as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think when would you fall asleep? When you were trying to visualize?
No, like I would have trouble, because you know, you'd go to bed at a normal time, just let's say, you know, 9 o'clock, and then you just lay in bed thinking about the race over and over again. Right. You know, and you'd have trouble relaxing in bed, like just to kind of turn your body off, because your brain is ticking over, and then all of a sudden you check your pulse and it's like 150, and like laying in bed, and you're like, oh man, I'm like working way too hard right now. So I think those techniques are good for, you know, right before you actually get into bed as well, so that way when, you know, you can get in relaxed.
So I did a poll that I asked, has anyone felt really nervous before competition? 92% of the attendees today said they do. And so it's a super common thing that you're super nervous before a big meet. And I think what you were talking about, that you're going over and over and over in your head, it reminds me of, you know, Olympic trials, when we're swimming preliminary, semifinals, finals. We have 3 races, and it was between my semifinal and my final heat. And so I had that time, you know, at trials, it's like you have a day in between that. You swim the semifinals, the next night you're swimming finals. You have 24 hours to mentally go over and over and over and over, you know, all the possible scenarios of how that race is going to go. What helped me handle that, because I felt the same thing that you were talking about, I was just obsessing over the race and thinking about it so much, was, you know, reading a book or watching a movie, talking to your roommate, or calling a best friend. I remember calling one of my best friends and saying, I am so nervous right now. Like, I'm so excited for this tonight, but I'm so nervous. Like, I feel kind of sick. You know, my stomach was just like a knot. And so I think it's just totally important to make sure you're eating. You know, sometimes with nerves, sometimes at swimming, it's a lot of people don't want to eat. You know, they're so nervous that they can't eat something, but it's really essential that you get a banana, you get something easily digestible to help your body be prepared. And so I think small things like drinking water, making sure you're snacking, making sure you're talking about how you're feeling to people who could be supportive. And that's really what helped me through that.
Yeah. One of the things our coach would tell us when we were going to, let's say, NCAAs as a team, he would always say, bring things from your home that make your hotel room feel familiar as well. Because sometimes you go into a hotel room, it's really unfamiliar. And so, you know, sometimes you'd bring candles, or you'd bring your own pillow, your own blanket, or maybe a photograph of your family, or something that just made the hotel room feel familiar as well. Did you do that as well?
Yeah, I would bring a lot of candles. And so whenever I was rooming with my friends, we would bring candles. Sometimes I'd bring pictures, definitely at the Olympics, you know, when we had a training trip at Stanford, we had a second training trip in Singapore, and then we went to Beijing. So we were gone for months. I brought pictures, I had them on the wall, I had the candles. I think I bought like flowers at one point to put in my hotel room, just to make it feel a little more like home. And I think that is really helpful, to have a comfortable environment. Maybe that's bringing your favorite pillow, like if you sleep well with your favorite pillow versus how you sleep in a hotel room. I mean, I know a lot of my teammates, you know, brought their own pillows, and that's for comfort and relaxation. So that helps as well.
Yeah. So you would say that visualization and breathing techniques were 2 of the biggest things that helped you with relaxation then?
Yeah, and talking. And so I think communicating, with your coaches and your teammates. So when I was at one of the times I was at trials, I was rooming with Amanda Beard. Amanda and I trained together in 2008, and we were rooming at Olympic trials. And it was really helpful because she had already been to 3 Olympics. I was trying to make my first team. This was going to be her 4th Olympic team. And so having that support from her, and just kind of talking about how we're feeling, we would sometimes turn a song on and just dance around the room to break up that nervous energy and just have fun together. And so that really, really helped me, having a good friend to support me and I was supporting her as well. And so that was huge. And so I think for kids and for younger swimmers to have that ability to communicate how you're feeling with your teammates, with your coaches, with your parents is really, really helpful, that support system.
Yeah, that's a good thing that you said too, is music can play a part as well. Certainly there were times where, I needed to get up, and so I would use music to help me kind of get up, and then there are other times where I was so anxious, I'd need music to calm me down. So I'd put on some really chill music and just get into that mood through the music. It helps a lot.
So one thing about the music is, I found myself, because some people have asked, well, what would you listen to before a race? I'm like, it really depended on my mood. If I was super, super high strung and really energetic and ready, I would listen to classical music to bring me calm. But if I was really tired, if I was feeling lethargic, I would listen to 9 Inch Nails or The Prodigy, and just totally opposite genres of music. So I think it's helpful to kind of tune into how are you feeling? Are you feeling like you need a little more energy? Are you feeling like you need to calm down? So I think what did you listen to when you were getting ready?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I did the same thing. I went on an exploration of, I did what everybody did. I felt like, everybody's listening to pump up music with their headphones on. And I found that would just get me so hyped up, I wouldn't perform at my best. So I actually took the headphones off, and I allowed sound to come in, because when you're at a swim meet, there's a lot going on. There's kids screaming, and there's races going on, there's guns going off, and there's, there's a lot happening. There's people cheering. So I would allow the sound to come in, and like you, I would breathe in the sound, and then I'd blow out and let it out, so that I wouldn't let the sound just come in and cave my head in. I would just bring it in and blow it out, and that would help me relax a lot. So I ended up starting with music, and then turning away from music completely, and not really using music for before a race.
Right. Yeah, I remember this one race. We were in Australia, and I was racing, obviously, an Australian swimmer who happened to be the world record holder in the 200 fly. And everyone was cheering. They announced her. They announced everyone behind the blocks. And when they announced Jessica Schipper, everyone was cheering because she was Australian and she's the world record holder. And I remember thinking in that moment, trying to use that energy, everyone's so excited, and pretend they were cheering for me. I knew they were cheering for her, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to use this energy for my race.
Yeah.
And that really helped. It just that mental flipping the script. Even though I knew they were cheering for her, it's still energy. Energy is energy. It's contagious. If it's negative, it's contagious. If it's positive, it's contagious. And so using that positive energy that's around the pool before a final at the World Championships or at the final at the Olympic trials is a way to explore ways to handle it.
Cool. Now, I know that self-talk, the way that the things that we say to ourselves, can really help either calm us down or freak us out. We tend to kind of let some negative thoughts creep in during taper as well. Is the way that you spoke to yourself, was that important as you got older, and the things that you said to yourself?
Definitely. I think self-talk is a huge topic to explore, especially when you're developing, when you're younger. Thankfully, I was able to have coaches who were, giving us notebooks, and we were talking about how we were feeling in practice. It wasn't necessarily at the meet, so it all happens in practice. Really hard set when you're totally broken down and you can't move your arms, what are you saying to yourself? And that's usually when you're like, I hate swimming. I want to quit. I'm not good enough. This sucks. Like, it's just this really vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And so when you're aware of that, don't judge it. I think a lot of people feel guilty for feeling that way. But I think if you look at how you're talking to yourself and just have awareness to it, have mindfulness to it. And that's the first step. You know, it's going to pass. Every emotion is going to pass. It's like a wave.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to go, you're going to feel it, and then it's going to pass. And then
Yeah.
you're going to feel the next emotion. So the first thing is just kind of listening, like every day, like, what am I saying to myself? Is this story accurate, or is this based on fear? Is this based on what I don't want to do versus what I do want to do? Does that make sense?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Now, Kim, I know that you're starting to offer some online classes through Fitter and Faster for small groups. Right now, we're doing these free webinars where anybody can get on, and there's hundreds of people listening in. But you're going to start to offer some very small classes where you're going to be talking about different things. Talk us through some of the offerings that you've got on right now.
Well, I'm very excited about all the opportunities that we have with Fitter and Faster. So the first one is called Mind-Body Balance. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of more of a holistic approach to dry land for swimmers. So what that means is it's a little fusion of like Pilates and yoga, but also mindfulness practices like we've been talking about today. And so the beginning of the class, we're going to tune in to each other, talk about how we're feeling, especially right now in quarantine. And then we're going to go through a little bit of breath work, like I mentioned earlier. We're going to tune into our breath, tune into our bodies, and then we're going to start on the yoga mat, and we're going to do a dry land, focusing more on core strength, you know, flexibility. And then after that, we're going to do another short little meditation, and then we're going to talk about any questions that people have and do a little bit of a Q&A, and I'll share a personal story about my swimming career. And so that's kind of how the 45 minutes is structured for the mind-body balance. Mm-hmm. The other opportunity is the butterfly class that we're going to offer. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've just started to offer some online swimming classes as well, which is different. You know, we're obviously in a different world right now, but we still want to stay connected to our swimming, and we still want to find ways that we can grow and learn. And there are many ways. It's not just getting in the pool. As a professional athlete, the both of us, we understood the importance of doing things out of the water as well. And so the class is going to be broken up into 8 classes over 4 weeks. So it'll be 2 classes per week. And Kim's going to be offering butterfly specifically right now. And it's small groups. It's a maximum of 12 people only. And you're going to break down the stroke and into segments. So like for instance, the first class is going to be body position and head position. So you're going to look at video that shows good body position and some poor body position. So what does it look like when it's done well, and what's it look like when it's done poorly? And then you'll show them some exercises they can do on the land to help with their positioning as well. And then you'll take them through some visualization on how to visualize yourself sitting in the water and feeling in the water. And we're hoping, and we know that, look, these skills work, but you have to actually practice them and put them in place. And we're hoping at the end of the month, you know, when people can get back in the water, they've done this class, then they're going to feel so much more ready to get in and be doing the technique that they want to be doing, swimming the way that they should be swimming. And we feel like this is going to help a lot. So this is a pretty unique opportunity to work with yourself, who is an Olympic medalist, who has been there, done that, got all the experience in the world, understands all these different techniques, understands what they're looking at when they look at video, and helping a small group of kids get better with their swimming. Yeah.
So I did a poll, and I asked if you're interested in the mind-body balance classes, and 76% of the attendees says yes. So if you're interested in the mind-body balance classes, go to the website, right, Brett? Where in the website is, what would be the best way for them to sign up for the mind-body classes?
I think they just go to fitterandfaster.com, and all the classes are there. You can find all the offerings on the website, so it shouldn't be too hard to get to once you're there. I know that my my little puppy here is.
I was like, what is that sound?
Sorry.
It's fine.
She's back there somewhere. Where is she?
Somewhere.
There she is.
Oh, he's so cute.
Hey.
So the mind body balance classes are on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the 45 minutes.
Perfect.
And those are starting today.
Okay.
The butterfly classes are starting next Monday, right?
Yes, the butterfly is going to start next Monday, so people still have time for that. Now, Tyler Clary, who works with us at Fitter and Faster, he was telling me that we're doing a giveaway, and he wanted me to let everybody know that if you go to our Instagram, you can see the details of the giveaway. We're giving away gift cards, and you must be a follower of Fitter and Faster, so go to our Instagram or Facebook, and you can sign up for the gift cards as well. So there's a lot of things happening, a lot of exciting things. Obviously, this week there are a lot of more live. There she is.
Aww.
We are live, so my puppy really wants to get in. Oh, there you go, Luna. Say hello to everybody.
So
okay?
Cute. What's her name?
This is good for relaxation too. All right, puppies are good for relaxation. Her name is Luna.
Sure.
This is Luna the dog.
Luna.
2 years old. She's a Spanish water dog. She loves the water just as much as we do, Kim. So anytime she sees the water, she jumps straight into it and swims around. So
You remember? So at Olympic trials in 2016, there were therapy dogs. So So that was really fun. I remember we would go over and hang out with the dogs for a little bit to help. So that definitely is another avenue.
Yeah,
maybe we should start bringing the dogs behind the blocks.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
Bring Luna to the meets with us. That would be amazing. But so there's a lot of great things on our schedule this week. I'm just reading a few here. I mean, obviously the relaxation today, and we talked about a lot of techniques. There's breaking down the 100 freestyle tomorrow that I'm doing with Olympic finalists Ariana Vanderpool-Wallace and also Brent Hayden, Olympic medalist. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then there's just so many things on the schedule. So go to either the Instagram page, Fitter and Faster, or go to our YouTube, not YouTube, I mean, what's the other one? Facebook. And sign up for some of these classes that we've got to offer. But listen, Kim, I appreciate your time today. Is there anything you want to finish with right now?
Well, thank you so much for talking. I was just going to send a little message in the group chat that if they're interested to check out the website, and also if they have questions, if they can't access it, they could also direct message me on Instagram. So I'm just going to add that my Instagram is Kim Swim.
Kim Swim, okay.
So that way, if people want to connect that way and, follow the offerings that I'm giving with Fitter and Faster, they could stay up to date with that.
Yeah, those classes have been on sale for a little bit, but there's still a few spots open. So if you guys want to get in with Kim, she's outstanding, does a great job, and would love to get to know you personally as well. It's a chance for her to get to know you. So that'll be super cool. So listen, we thank everybody for being here, talking about some relaxation techniques today. Start to use those techniques, and if you need to know more about them, sign up for Kim's classes. But we'll see everybody next time, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.